Planning is a managerial process where the managers at all levels of the organization, they will be taking the decisions regarding what are the activities to be done and how it has to be done. If you need growth and prosperity of the business, we need to have a proper planning for the business. Where the top management will decide what are the goals and objectives of the organization. Based on that, the plans will be broken down for each level of the organization. Hello everyone, I am Purnima, faculty in the Department of Commerce and Management, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. I welcome you all to this session. In this revision session of Chapter 4, that is Planning, we will be discussing about the various aspects of planning. So what is the meaning of the word planning? What is the importance, features, limitations, planning process and types of plans. Now, this planning chapter is very, very important from the examination point of view because you can expect all of these questions for any of the sections. So, whether it is section A, section B, section C, section D, any of the questions can be asked from this chapter. So, from the examination point of view, please don't skip this chapter because it is very, very important. So you can expect 2 marks question on features, you can expect 2 marks question on limitations, 2 mark question on planning process, or 2 marks question on types of plans, or you can expect 4 marks questions on any of this, and even 8 mark questions on any of these topics. So planning chapter is very, very important. So I request the students not to skip this chapter as it is, the chapter is very, very easy. Please keep a note of this, that this chapter is a very important chapter. Important chapter from the examination point of view. Okay, so let us first see what is the meaning of the word planning. Meaning, it is deciding in advance what to do and how to do. So, planning is deciding in advance. You are deciding in advance what you have to do and how you have to do the job. So, it is one of the basic managerial functions. It is the bridge, the gap between where we are and where we want to go. It is what managers do at all levels. So, planning is a managerial process where the managers at all levels of the organization, they will be taking the decisions regarding what are the activities to be done and how it has to be done. If you can see in this illustration here, it is a managerial function, goal-oriented, it is all-pervasive, continuous activity, intellectual process, futuristic and decision-making. So, they are all the features of planning. So, we have just understood what is the meaning of the word planning. Planning is deciding in advance what to do and how to do it. Now, let us see why it is important for us to have planning. So, planning is important. So, let us see what are the importance aspects here. So, planning provides directions. So, it ensures that goals or activities are clearly stated. So, they act as a guide for decision. So, what action to be taken and which direction? If there was no planning, employees would be working in different directions and organizations would not be able to achieve its desired goals. Now, why do we say that planning provides directions? Because with the help of planning, we can clearly state what is the work to be done and how it has to be done. But if there was no planning, the employees would have done the work on their own and there would not be any directions at all for the employees to do. So, if there is no directions, then there will be utter chaos in the organization. So, as a result of which, we say that planning provides direction. So, what is the work, how it has to be done, everything will be laid down in planning itself. So, you can see here, planning is, he is just envisioning what is to be done in the future. Then, the second importance of planning is it reduces the risk of uncertainty. It is an activity which enables the manager to look ahead and anticipate the changes. So, in the planning activity, we will be looking into the future. So, we can anticipate what can be the changes in future, and as a result of which, planning shows the way to deal with changes and uncertain events. So we can foresee, so what can be, what are the various things which may happen in future, and it will help us to be prepared for all those events. Then the third importance of planning is it reduces overlapping and wasteful activity. So it serves as the basis for coordinating the activities and efforts of different divisions, departments, and individuals. It helps in avoiding confusion and misunderstanding. Since planning ensures clarity in thought and action, work is carried on smoothly without interruptions. So planning reduces overlapping of activities because it is the basis for coordinating all the activities of the organization. So it will coordinate the individuals, it will coordinate the divisions, it will coordinate the different departments. So it helps in avoiding confusions and misunderstanding. So there is clarity of thought and action. So that is why we say that planning reduces overlapping of activities. Then the fourth importance of planning is planning promotes innovative ideas. The first function of management when new ideas take the shape of concrete plans. So with the help of planning, you can be able to promote the innovative ideas. The most challenging activity for the management is it guides the future actions leading to the growth and prosperity of the business. So if you need growth and prosperity of the business, we need to have a proper planning for the business. Then the next importance is planning facilitates decision making. It helps the manager to look into the future and make a choice from among the various alternative courses of action. So what are the various alternative courses of action available? Evaluate each of the alternative and then you decide what is the best course of action to be taken. So in this way, planning will facilitate the decision making. It helps in taking rational decisions to the manager. Then the next importance of planning is it establishes standards for controlling. Planning provides the goal or standards against which actual performance is to be measured. So with the help of planning, we set up the goals for each of the individual, for each of the every machine, for each and every department. So in this way, when we set up the goals for each and every aspect of the organization, we can be assured that these goals can be achieved. So it establishes the standards against which the performance will be evaluated. So in this way, planning will help in controlling. So there are with some standards, managers can know whether they have actually been able to attain the goals. If there are any deviations, corrections can be taken. So it helps in controlling function. Then let us go to the features of planning. So importance of planning, you can expect 4-mark question from the importance of planning. Now let us see what are the features of planning. Now in this features of planning, the first feature is it focuses on achieving the objectives. So you can see here, what is the objective, what is the goal. So you are right on the goal here. So the same way it focuses on achieving the objectives. Organizations are set up with a general purpose in view. Specific goals are set out in the plans along with the activities to be undertaken to achieve the goals. Planning has no meaning until and unless it contributes to the achievement of predetermined organizational goals. So planning is nothing but you set goals for each and every department of the organization. So organizations are set up with the view of having a profit. Now, how to gain profit? So we have to just again finalize the plans for each and every division of the organization and for each and every department. Specific goals are set out in the plans with the activities to be undertaken to achieve the goals. Now, in order to achieve maximum profit, then what are the various ways in which we can plan them? So that will be done in the planning function. So that is why we say that planning focuses on achieving the objectives. Then the second feature of planning is it is the primary function of management. So why we call it as a primary function? All other managerial functions are performed within the framework of the plans drawn. It provides the basis of all other functions. So planning is the foundation on which all other functions of the management will stand. So that is why we say that planning is the primary function of management. So we have the planning function, organizing, then leading, then controlling. After controlling, again we go back to the planning. Now the next feature of planning is pervasive. So why we say planning is pervasive? It is required at all levels of management as well as all departments of the organization. It is not an exclusive function of top management nor any of the particular department, but it differs at different levels among different departments. Now, why do we say that planning is a pervasive function? Because planning is not the function of only the top management. So, the top management will decide what are the goals and objectives of the organization. Based on that, the plans will be broken down for each level of the organization. So, whether it is the middle level and the lowest level, so all the plans have to be drawn keeping in view the main objectives and goals of the organization. So that is why we say that planning is all pervasive. So it exists at all levels of management in all departments and all divisions. Then next feature is planning is continuous. Plans are prepared for a specified period of time. It may be for a month, a quarter or a year. So planning thus involves thorough examination and evaluation of each alternative and choosing the most appropriate one. So we all know that plans are time bound. So when we plan for a week or for a month or for a year, so after the expiry of the 1 year or 1 week or 1 month, again we have to draw fresh plans in order to see that the organizational activities continue without any interruptions. So it is after the time frame is over, again it will be a time to make fresh plans. So that is why we say that planning is a continuous process. Then the next feature is planning is a mental exercise. It requires application of the mind involving foresight, intelligence, imagination and sound judgment. So planning is a mental exercise. So why we call it as a mental exercise? Because it requires foresight. So we have to look into the future, we have to be intelligent, we have to have imagination and also a sound judgment. It requires logical and systematic thinking rather than guesswork or wishful thinking. So when we are having plans, it will be based on the data which has been collected. So it is systematic and logical thinking rather than guesswork and wishful thinking. Then let us see what are the limitations. So we have just covered the two aspects of planning. One is the importance of planning. Second one is the features of planning. So both are very, very important. Now let us see what are the limitations of planning. Though we say that planning is a very primary function, it is essential, it is continuous, there are certain limitations. Now let us see what are the limitations here. So planning leads to rigidity. So why do we say that planning leads to rigidity? A well-defined plan is drawn up with specific goals to be achieved within a specific time frame. These plans then decide the future course of action and managers may not be in a position to change it. So these plans, they will decide the future course of action and the manager may not be in a position to change it. So following a pre-decided plan, when circumstances have changed, it may not turn out to be in the organizational interest. So when the situation has changed, when the business environment has changed, so what happens is we cannot adapt to the changes because we have a pre-decided plan. So we have to go as per the plan. So when we go as per the plan, what happens is, so whatever is the outcome of that activity, it may not be in the organizational interest. Then second one is, planning may not work out in a dynamic environment. The business environment is dynamic, We all know that nothing is constant. The organization has to constantly adapt itself to the changes. Planning cannot foresee everything, and thus there may be obstacles to effective planning. So we cannot say that the planning will not work in a dynamic environment. So why do we say that? Because the business environment keeps on changing, and along with the changes in environment, we cannot foresee what may happen in future. So there may be obstacles, as a result of which we may not able to achieve whatever we have planned for. Then the third limitation of planning is planning reduces creativity. So why do we say that planning reduces creativity? It is an activity which is done by the top management. Usually the rest of the members just implement the plans. Now we all know that most of the planning is taken up by the top level management. So the other departments that at the middle level and the lower level, they'll be just implementing the plans. So middle management and other decision makers are neither allowed to deviate from the plans, nor are they permitted to act on their own. So whoever are there in the middle level or the lower level, they don't have any freedom to just act on their own. They have to just follow whatever has been decided by the top level management. That is why we say that planning reduces creativity. Then next limitation of planning is planning involves huge cost. So when plans are drawn up, huge costs are involved in their formulation. So there will be lot of cost involved in the formulation. Detailed plans require scientific calculations to ascertain the facts and figures. So when we have detailed plans, it requires scientific calculations to ascertain the facts and figures, and the costs incurred sometimes may not justify the benefits derived from the plans. So for making the plans, we need data, and for collection of data also, it requires huge cost. We need to have enumerators who go ahead and they will be just seeing whatever is done. So we say that planning involves huge cost. Next limitation of planning is a time-consuming process. Plans have to be drawn up, taken so much of time that there is not much time left for implementation. So planning is a time-consuming process, because when we draw up the plan, it will be a mental exercise and we will be thinking a lot, and then we will be deciding about what is to be done, and as a result of which there will not be much time left for the implementation part of the plan. Then the next limitation of planning is planning does not guarantee success. So there may be success or failure. We cannot just say. The success of the enterprise is possible only when plans are properly drawn up and implemented. So the planning does not guarantee success. So when the plans are taken up and implemented, we cannot say that success will be guaranteed. Any plans need to be translated into action. Otherwise, it becomes meaningless. So plans have to be translated into action. So if you just keep the plan, if you just make the plan and keep it in the cupboard, it will be of any use. So it is essential that whatever plans have been worked out, they have to be implemented or acted upon. Then the next most important one is the planning process. Now, what is this planning process? Now, in this, the first one is setting up of the objectives. So, in the plan, we should know what exactly is the objective of the organization. So, when we know exactly what is the objective of the organization, we will be able to plan accordingly. The first and the foremost step is setting the objectives. It may be set for the entire organization and each department or unit within the organization. So you should know what is the objective, and based on that, we have to set up the plans. So objectives or goals specify what the organization wants to achieve. So it should be stated clearly for each and all departments, units and employees. they give direction to all the departments. So with the help of objectives, we will be able to guide the directions or give directions to all the departments of the organization. Then the second plan in the planning process is developing the premises. Now, what is this premises? Planning is concerned with future, which is uncertain, and every planner is using conjecture about what might happen in the future. So, the manager is required to make certain assumptions about the future. So, planning is developing the premises. So, what kind of environment will be? So, when we are implementing the plan, we have to think about what is the environment in which the plans will be implemented. So, as a result of which, we need to make certain assumptions about the future. So, that is what we call as the developing the planning premises. Then, assumptions are the base material upon which the plans are drawn. All managers involved in planning should be familiar with use and the same assumptions. So, what are the assumptions on which the planning is done? And these assumptions should be known to all the other people who will be implementing the plan. Forecasts can be made about the demand for a particular product, policy change, interest rate, price of capital goods, tax rates, etc. So, we can make forecasts about certain aspects here. It may be the demand for the particular product, policy change, interest rate, prices of capital goods. For all this, forecasts can be made easily. Then, the next in the planning process is identifying alternative courses of action. Once objectives are set, assumptions are made, then we have to think about how to act upon the objectives. There may be certain ways to achieve the objectives. All the alternative courses of action should be identified. The course of action which may be taken can be either routine or innovative. So, here we should understand that what are the various alternatives available. So, once we have the objectives set down very clearly, then we have to think about the various ways in which the objectives can be achieved. So, that is, we will be identifying the various alternative courses of action here. Then, the next one is evaluating alternative courses. So, the next step is to weigh the pros and cons of each alternative. Each course will have many variables and each have to be weighed against each other. So, when we have 2 or 3 different ways of reaching one particular place, then we have to see which is the best way, which road is very good, and all these things. The same way in planning also, when we know what is the destination, we have to think about the various courses of action, and when we are selecting a various course of action, we have to just check about what are the advantages and disadvantages of each and every course. So, accurate forecasts in conditions of certainty, then come vital assumptions for these proposals. So, if your assumptions are very accurate, if your forecasts are very accurate, then you can be assured of taking a very good alternative step. Then, next one is selecting an alternative. This is the real point of decision making. The best plan has to be adopted and implemented. The ideal plan will be most feasible, profitable, and with least negative consequences. So, in the planning process, we should understand that it is the point of decision making wherein you are selecting what is the best alternative course of action. So, while selecting the best course of action, we should see which course of action is most feasible, most profitable, and with least negative consequences. Then, next one is implementing the plan. This step is concerned with putting the plan into action, that is, doing what is required. It would also involve organizing for labor and purchase of machinery. So implementing the plan becomes very, very important. As per the plans, what is the action necessary? We have to take that particular action, and in this way we will be implementing the plan. The next one is the follow-up action. To see whether the plans are being implemented, activities are performed according to the schedule is also a part of the planning process. So monitoring the plans is equally important to ensure that objectives are achieved. So if you just make a plan and leave it, it is of no use. We have to see that plans are to be monitored at all levels. So when we have a close watch on the plans which are being implemented, we will be able to know where the deviations are. So just like for the construction of a building, we need a proper plan. So with the help of the plan, we will be able to see the building will be built as per the plan. The same way, when we are planning for all the activities of the organization, we have to check if there are any deviations in the organizational functions. Then the next part is the types of plans. So what are those? Single-use plans, and we have the standing plans. So plans can be classified into different types. The most basic classification is the single-use plans and the standing plans. So it has to prepare a plan before making any decision relating to business operation or undertaking any project. So we have the two types of plans, that is the single-use and the standing plans. So let us see what are these single-use plan. So it is developed for a one-time event or a project. It is designed to ensure that internal operations of the organization run smoothly. So single-use plans are made use of only for one time. It is developed once, but it is modified from time to time to meet the business needs as required. So once it is developed, it can be modified from time to time. Now, what about the standing plans? So it includes the policies, procedures, methods, and rules. There are general forms of standing plans that specifies the organization's response to a certain situation, like admission policy of an educational institution. So standing plans means it will be there in the organization for a very long time. So once you make a policy, it will be there. For example, goods cannot be once sold, cannot be exchanged or returned. So what does that mean? So once you make the sale, then the sale is closed. So you cannot come back for exchange, or you cannot come back for a refund. So that is the sales policy which is followed by almost all the retail outlets. Now here we say that the policies are general forms of standing plans that specifies the organization's response to a particular situation. So you analyze, you just visualize what are the various situations which often come, and based on those situations you make the policies. Those policies whichever are made, so they will help the manager in decision making. So that is why we say that standing plans are there. It will stand for a very long period. Then next one is the procedure. It describes the steps to be followed in particular circumstances, like the procedure for reporting progress in production. So procedure means, so what is the steps to be taken in a particular circumstances. So it will tell us actually what are the various progress in production. Then methods, it provides the manner in which a task has to be performed. Methods means they will tell us how any work has to be performed. Then rules, they are clearly stated as to exactly what has to be done, like reporting for work at a particular time. See, the rules are essential for every organization, because we find a group of people who are working in organization, and in order to see that we have a control over the group, we need to make rules. So if the rules are there, then we should ensure that the rules have to be implemented, and if anybody breaks the rule, there should be also the fear of punishment. So if there is no fear of punishment, then people may break the rules which will lead to chaos in the organization. So that is why policies, procedures, methods, and rules are very, very important for any organization. Then next one is the objectives. So objectives is said to be the desired future position that the management would like to reach. So objective is the desired future position which the management would like to reach. They are very basic to the organization. They are defined as the ends at which the management seeks to achieve by its operations. So it is nothing but the end result of all the activities of the organization. Usually any business organization, it will be set up with the objective of earning maximum profits. So how do you get maximum profits? That will be decided by the middle level and the lower levels of management. Then the second type of a plan is strategy. What do we mean by strategy? It is a comprehensive plan which includes 3 dimensions. So a strategy means first thing is you determine the long-term objectives. So what is the long-term objective of the company? Then adopting a particular course of action, allocating resources necessary to achieve the objective. So based on the plan, you have the allocation of resources, you select a particular course and you decide what are the resources needed in order to put the plan into action. So strategies usually take the course of forming the organization's identity in the business environment. So strategies are plans based for the organization which will help in achieving the organizational objective. Then next one is the policy. Policies are general statements that guide thinking or channelize the energies towards a particular direction. So policies are general statements or they are the general guidelines which help the manager in decision making. It provides a basis for interpreting strategy which is usually stated in general terms. So it is nothing but an interpretation of the strategy. Then next type of plan is the procedure. So in this procedure, there are the routine steps on how to carry out the activities. For example, the procedure to apply for a passport, the procedure to get your company registered. So there will be various steps, the procedure to get an Aadhaar card, the procedure to get a PAN card. So there will be various procedures. The same way procedures are nothing but the routine steps on how to carry out the activities in the organization. They detail the exact manner in which any work is to be performed. So with the help of procedures, we will be able to decide exactly how the work has to be performed in the organization. They are specified in a chronological order. So policies and procedures are interlinked with each other. Procedures are steps to be carried out within the broad policy framework. So you have a policy framework and within which the procedure has to be followed. Then the next one is the method. Now what do we mean by method? They provide the prescribed ways or manner in which a task has to be performed considering the objective. So method will tell us how we have to do the job. It deals with the task comprising one step of procedure and specifies how this step has to be performed. It may vary from task to task. Selection of proper method saves time, money, effort and increases the efficiency. Now we have the policy, which is the framework, and within the policy we have the procedure, and within the procedure we have the method. So what is the method of doing each and every activity given down in the procedure? So that we call it as the method. So how each and every step in the procedure has to be done, so that method will tell us how we have to do. So when we select the proper method, we will be saving the time, money and effort, and as a result of which we can increase the efficiency of the work done. Then the next type of plan is the rule. So rules are specific statements that inform what is to be done. So the rules will tell us what we have to do. For example, wearing uniform to the school, or following the traffic signals, or following the rules, etc. All these are examples for rules. They do not allow for any flexibility or discretion. So once a rule is made, so everybody has to follow the rule, and there is no flexibility here. They are usually the simplest kinds of plans because there is no compromise or change unless a policy decision is taken. So rules once formed, they cannot be changed at all. So they are neither flexible nor discretionary, and as a result of which the rules are the simplest plans because there is no compromise or change. So if you have to change a rule, then you have to have a change in the policy itself. Next, we have the program. So programs are detailed statements about the project which outlines the objectives, policies, procedures, rules, tasks, human physical resources required, and the budget to implement any course of action. Now, this program is a detailed statement about the project. Now, in the companies, they'll have, each group will have a different project, and each project will have its own policies, procedures, rules, tasks, etc. So, in this program, it will set out in detail for each project what is the policy, what is the procedure, method, rules, etc. So, the minute details are worked out, procedures, rules, budgets within the broad policy framework. Then, the last type of plan is the budget. A budget is a statement of expected result expressed in numerical terms. It is a plan which quantifies future facts and figures. So, with the help of the budget, we will be able to see what is the end result of each and every plan. That is, so it is a plan expressed in numerical terms. So budget may also be prepared to show the number of workers required in the factory at peak production time. So the budget need not be any money budget. It can be any budget, whatever is the resources available. So any resources of the organization can be budgeted by preparing a budget. So these are the different types of plans. So I hope you have all followed this revision class on planning. Thank you.